Good morning. Welcome to a special edition of Friday Patriot Football via YouTube on JohnCurtisPatriots.com. It's our annual Thanksgiving celebration, if you will. We have a practice and devotional alongside Danny Wimpron. I'm Kevin Fayard. Of course, Robbie User is producing today's broadcast. The Patriots are in the quarterfinals of the Division I Select Playoff Bracket. They'll play the Catholic High Bears in Baton Rouge on tomorrow at 7 o'clock p.m. at Memorial Stadium. We'll go live at 6:45 for our pregame and, of course, bring you the live action on JohnCurtisPatriots.com via YouTube. Danny, 13 years. Here we are on the broadcast, but this is only our 11th time doing this Thanksgiving, and what a special moment it is. The boys outside doing a practice walkthrough, and then, of course, we're going to have our devotional where Coach JT will come in and, give us a little word and stuff. But it's always my favorite time of the year and favorite practice of the year as well.
Well, I'll let you kind of go into the beginning of this deal, how it all started. But, yeah, it's very important to Kevin and I that we're here every single year. Obviously, it means that we're still playing. It means that we're still in the playoffs. We're still pushing hard as a team, and the coaching staff and everybody's still together. But also, I think it brings to mind the family atmosphere of the school. When you become a Patriot, you become part of the family. And I think this is what Thanksgiving is all about, all the things that we're thankful for, all the opportunities that we have, everything that God's given to us and allows us to be a part of in this country. And I think football is right at the heart of that, especially for this school. Just a unbelievable tradition after we know what JT has gone through this year and everything that he has going on and how excited we've been. You're able to kind of take a step back and today be with family, friends, and here's no different being with the family at John Curtis. So I think it's an unbelievable opportunity for us to just kind of get together, take a step back, take a deep breath, and understand a lot of the things that we're thankful for. And really being here today is just one more of them.
Yep. Well, this practice actually started in 1975. That was the year of our first state championship team. Up until that point, the boys had never advanced that far in the playoffs. So we had a Thanksgiving practice. After practice, the guys and the coach went to the locker room and they all kind of stood around like,
what do we do now?
Yeah, what do we do? They were lost. And somebody was like, hey, should we say a prayer or something? So I think there was a Bible. Somebody had a Bible, and I think Coach may have read a little scripture or whatever. And then they just went around the room saying what they're thankful for because it was a small team. There were only 42 guys on the team back then. And, that was in 1975. And, of course, every year since, up until 92, we didn't have one. We'd lose to Opelousas in the regional round. We've had a Thanksgiving practice. So it became a tradition. My first year was in 85, and I didn't know any different. I'm like, wow, we got Thanksgiving practice. I'm going to sleep in thinking this is a walkthrough. Practice is over with, and we ended up going to the library.
Yeah.
And Coach Gatz gave the devotional that year. And I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't understand the traditions with Tom because that was only the 10th anniversary of the 75 team. But you had guys like Glenn Tapman, David Gilmore, Mark Toper, Gary Greaves showed up. Members who were on that 75 team were there. And afterwards, Coach JT asked those guys to introduce themselves. 86, I'm a sophomore. We were in the playoffs again, and a few more guys showed up. 87, my junior, a few more guys showed up. So 88, my senior year, more guys showed up. So I just figured, whoa, all right, 89, I'm a freshman in college. I started coming back. And I haven't missed one since, but it's gotten bigger and better.
Right.
Where not only just football alums, any alum comes back, and then we'll get the opportunity to just stand up, and they'll say their name in the year they graduated. And not only has this side of the gym filled up, but you'll see in the background, the other side, it's always wrapped around. And, of course, it's always good when Coach Rob was alive, but now Coach Leon, when he says 1968, everybody,
everybody laughs.
Yeah, it gets a big old roar and stuff. So that's how it started. Really, it was just in the 75. They didn't know what was going on, what to do, and, we have to be thankful for something. And then because those guys kept coming back, like everything else, all the other traditions that we celebrate started with the 75 team. So this Thanksgiving practice is one of their traditions they started.
I think one of the most important things for me is on a day like today that I really enjoy is you call them the ghosts of Patriots past.
Yeah.
When these guys are able to step into the gym and some of these young guys are able to shake their hand like a man, introduce themselves and understand, hey, this guy was one of the originals, right?
Right.
Or he was one of the guys that I heard his name back in the 80s or the 90s, or put a face with a name, and actually that's who he is. And you know what? He's back because he cares about me and he cares about this school and he cares about the things that are going on today. So I think it's important for the younger generation to be able to say, oh, I've heard that name before. Or, hey, he played the same position that I did. Or the guy still cares, So I think it's a cool deal for the younger guys to be able to step in and say, oh, I recognize that name or I recognize that guy. Let me go talk to him a little bit, hear some of his stories and things like that. So I think it's pretty neat.
Well, some of those the acorn, if you will, that had helped grow into this oak tree. Glenn Tapman's here today.
David Gilmore.
Doug Carter. I seen it. Tommy Archer's here. I knew there was one Chris Luckett, I believe, is also here.
Yep.
Doug Hoffman.
Glenn Tapman's here.
Yeah, all those guys. So those are the guys who really started it, and they're still here. And I always enjoyed it after I graduated, talking like you're saying, talking to these old guys to hear the stories.
Right.
And really, the guys in the settings, man, those stories are so colorful. I mean, you can't do anything coaching-wise or player-wise that they did back in the day. But wow, it's hilarious, I guess. And also, as we get older, the stories get longer. We jumped higher, we ran faster, we were stronger. We could lift the world.
The fish was much bigger nowadays.
Back when I played, blah, blah. So it's quite comical as an adult to come back and listen to all the lies that are being told.
Yeah, it's unbelievable after having no records being kept here that everybody has his own record, right? So the good old days.
Yeah, everybody was an All-American. When we started doing the broadcast here in 2011, but we didn't start doing the Thanksgiving broadcast until 2013, and how that started was, if you remember, Miss Kathy and Darryl Rickner's daughter, Ashley, became ill, and they were staying in Houston at MD Anderson for 5-6 months, I believe, they were there. And to really kind of bring them kind of home, if you will, we started doing this broadcast, and then it was such a success. Unfortunately, Ashley, didn't make it past the following year. We decided to keep doing it, and as our broadcast has grown through the years, people who can't come in, they're still cooking if they're out of town, we want to let you guys share in our devotion as well, because everybody thinks Coach JT, he's just a football coach or he's a pastor, but we know because we've heard him speak as a player and then doing the chapels through the years. But until you really hear him in this arena, if you will, I mean, he's a great orator. He's such a motivational speaker anyway, but when he speaks the word of God, if you can't be a believer after that, something's wrong with you.
Well, and that's what I think a lot of people don't understand is that this school, a lot of outsiders is what I'm speaking of. They don't understand that the school it's not based on football.
No.
Right?
No.
And people from the outside that, it's not their fault. They're just ignorant because they don't know any better. But the school was was founded on Jesus. And Mr. Curtis traveled around the country, wanted to start a church, finally had the opportunity to start a school, to be able to change the lives of young people. That's how it was started. And then in his wildest dreams, he would have never thought JT was going to be the winningest football coach in football history.
Right.
But it was founded on Jesus. And you're going to hear a little bit of that this morning from Coach JT, and obviously we know what kind of motivational speaker he is and how good he is with his words. But, I think it's so important for people from the outside looking in to understand that it's a little different. And I've had the opportunity to bring some parents in with they are at a prior school and they come here, their kids are able to experience it, and they said it's beyond my wildest dreams. It's the best decision that I've ever made for my kid, and so it's worked out. And I haven't had anybody yet say I don't like it. We made the wrong decision. Haven't had one person say that yet. And I think if the man at the top, right, Mr. Curtis, Miss Merle, JT, Miss Litt, if them at the top are leading the proper way, then everything's going to fall into place. And I think that's where it all starts.
I agree. And Mr. Curtis was smart. He used the football program as the front porch of the school. Mm-hmm. That's my advertising, if you will. Colleges do the same thing, right? At halftime, the universities do their little promotional commercials, but it's all about the sports. But, hey, get them in here and what have you. But we're not the only team that's practiced through the years on Thanksgiving. However, other teams have kind of heard what we do, and they have practice. They don't necessarily have a devotional, but they encourage their alums to show up too. So we kind of influence other schools to kind of bring the alums back on Thanksgiving morning fellowship and let the older guys talk to the young guys as well.
There's some good traditions that are all around that you can copycat. I mean, there's nothing wrong with people seeing what we do and copying. That means you're doing something right.
That's right. Well, as you'll see, people will start walking in. It's 9:10, usually around 9:15 or so, 9:20. Coach will come in and do the devotion. We're going to keep talking to that point, and then we'll sign off and then let you guys watch the devotional. But we're going to talk football because that's why we're here. The Patriots playing Catholic Bears. This will be the fifth time. The all-time series record is tied 2-2. The first two times we played were the 2017 and 2018 state championship game. Then we went back to Baton Rouge in 2019 and played in the semifinals. And then we went back last year in the semifinals as well. So we split in the state championship games 1-1. We split in the semifinals. So it's the first time we met in the quarterfinal round. I like the way the Patriots are this year going into Baton Rouge to play Catholic team. They're a very formidable foe. They're a third seed. They're 9-2 on the season. We're a sixth seed. We're 8-2 on the season. The one common opponent would have been Zachary. We didn't play them. They played them and beat them at the end of this, the game
Yep.
For the district championship. You got to like the momentum the Patriots have going into tomorrow night's ball game.
Well, I really do. And honestly, last year going into that game was one of those games that we really thought this one could be really tough for us.
Right.
And we went in and we handled business, and we were super excited about it. Catholic's a huge school. You know, they have a huge following, huge alumni, a lot of money follows that program. So they're very, very good. This year is no different. They're obviously going to be very skilled. They're coached very well. But I agree with you. I like where we are this year as far as being healthy. The momentum that we've showed, I think that we've gotten better each and every week. I think we've added some depth that guys have stepped in, not only stepped in, but I think the guys around them have started to believe in them as a player.
Right.
We can rely on them. They can rely on us. They're playing together as a team. And I think throughout the year, we've kind of got things figured out now to where this is when this part of the season is when you want to get hot. We're pretty darn hot right now. So I like where we are. But it all comes down to who's going to show up on a Friday night. You know,
Right.
everybody's got to remember these are 15 through 18-year-old kids we talk about each and every week. So mistakes are going to be made. Things are going to happen. How are you going to overcome those mistakes? But offensively, we've played very well. We've controlled the football. Senior quarterback Dagan Bruno has been very efficient. I think the receivers have stepped up a lot lately, carrying the ball, having some big explosive plays. We've done a good job of distributing the ball to different guys, and then the running backs are really – to me, they're getting better and better. I think they're believing. The offensive line obviously was a strong suit coming into this season, and I think the offense has been very efficient at most times. And then also got to give a shout-out to Jeff Curtis. He's done a good job this year of just kind of changing things up, changing some looks we've talked about in the broadcast, changing some motions, some different ways of getting to the same old things, and then also introducing some new things.
Right.
And I think he's done a great job of making those coaches that study our film have something else to look at and something else to talk about instead of just inside and outside dive.
Right.
So look at it from that perspective, as well as, hey, what could be next, right? How does Catholic line up to where there's another big play that we haven't seen might be coming, right? Or there's something else that we could work off of, something else that we put in. So I like where we are offensively. Defensively, I think the momentum has picked up.
Yes.
I think the guys almost, in a way, you can almost see like the way that the belief has come in on the defensive side of the ball as the games have progressed. The linebackers have stepped up in a big way. The defensive ends have continued to just improve each and every week. The defensive line have done an unbelievable job. And to be honest with you, for a younger secondary that we thought might have some holes in it, they've played extremely well.
They have.
The guys have flown around, gotten to the football, and I really like where we are right now in the defensive secondary. Having said that, you got to get after the quarterback. That's where it all starts.
Right.
So get after the quarterback, go hit him in the mouth. It makes everything easier. And, of course, you got to be run heavy. You got to be able to stop the run. Sometimes we've had some problems. Some teams have gashed just a little bit. But we've done a good job of changing some things around.
We have.
And then making it happen. And then I think special teams, to be honest, I think we've gotten better throughout the season. Yep. And that's exactly what you want. We're able to make our extra points. We're able to kick it through. We're able to block it up heavy. Running down there on kickoff, I think, has been the biggest improvement.
I agree.
Those guys have really just kind of come together and understood that, I'm a starter right here and I'm going to run down with my hair on fire and make plays. And that's what you want from a kickoff team. You want those guys to almost have a little screw loose when that whistle blows down for that kickoff to go down there and put a hat on somebody. Those are the guys that you want to be out there. And I think that team has improved dramatically. Also, I want to see a little bit more explosive plays on the kickoff return team. I think we've done well, but I'd like to see something finally open up big for us. In a game like this, there's no better time for it to happen.
Sure.
And then, of course, in a game like this, you always got to talk about ball security. You have to win the turnover battle. That's football 101. Need takeaways on defense. Offense has to control the ball the way that we've done it for the whole year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Catholic's a very physical game. The previous 4 games, Curtis, Catholic, very, very physical. I'm sure both teams will need a hot tub afterwards, no matter who wins, loses the ball game. But
well, how many kids are in Catholic?
Probably like 1,500, probably.
1,500 kids.
Yeah.
It's a big
large
school.
It's a large
school. You can recruit the hallways. You're always going to see big boys in the offensive line. Hey, guess what? You're playing football this year, buddy.
Right.
You ate a little bit too well over the summer. You're going to come with us. But it's a big school. Always very good team. Always coached well. So it's definitely going to be a battle.
Here's some interesting fun facts, but I don't know if you know this or not. So Catholic started playing football in 1929. They're in their 95th season.
Wow.
Historically, right? We started playing in 1963. Well, let's focus on Coach JT. They are currently in 90, going into tomorrow night's ball game, 95 years of football, 620 wins, 388 losses, and 16 ties. Coach JT gave them a 40-year head start. He didn't start coaching the Patriots until 1969, right?
He got them.
623 wins, 79 losses, and then 6 ties. He gave them a 40-year head start, and he has 3 more wins than they have as a program. How's that?
Sounds good to me.
You didn't know that,
did
you?
I did not know that.
That's crazy.
Great.
That's crazy. That just shows you. But actually, we got to become good friends with Dixon McMakin. He's the voice of the Bears in recent years. A real good guy, and he shares information and stuff with us and stuff. And Coach Dale Weiner was their coach from, I guess, somewhere in the mid-'80s or whatever, and he retired after they won the championship in 15. Should have got their first championship. But they didn't win 10 games until he started becoming a coach in the 80s.
Wow.
And you think of all the guys at Catholic in recent years. So through the 80s and the 90s, the Warwick Dunns, Travis Miners that went to Florida State, and there's a bunch of other guys that went to LSU and did really well. I mean, they've had a lot of athletes there. To not win 10 games until somewhere in the mid to late 80s, well, been playing football that long, and it's taken that long to get that successful is amazing. I didn't realize that, but hey, that's on them.
But yeah, and a good program now that I'm sure if the brackets stay alive like they are, that we're going to see them all the time.
Yes.
I mean, it's a thing for us each and every year. That baseball team is loaded every single year, and like we talked about, they're a huge school. So I think Catholic and Curtis is going to end up, pretty much it already has become a rivalry.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get much better in South Louisiana to be able to play John Curtis and Catholic. It's going to end up shaping to be a good one tomorrow night. I hope you guys can all make it. We don't, unfortunately, it's Thanksgiving. A lot of people are traveling. Be safe out there. Not sure where everybody is. God bless you today. You and your family. It's going to be an awesome Thanksgiving. I hope you don't fry it when it's frozen, okay? But, it's going to be an awesome battle tomorrow. If you can make it, we always kind of encourage people to show up to the game. Obviously, we know the drive. It's a little bit out there. But if you're not, always listen to Kevin and I, Robbie, JohnCurtisPatriots.com. Appreciate y'all tuning in today. But tomorrow's going to be no different. It's going to be an awesome matchup. So if you can't make it to the game, always tune in live to watch us.
So the winner of tomorrow night's ball game between the Patriots and the Bears will play the winner of Rummel and St. Paul. Now, Rummel, they've had to go to Shreveport 2 consecutive weeks. And the rule changed last year where from the quarterfinals on, the higher seed will host. So if Rummel wants to continue to win and keep playing football, they got to go to Covington, either come to the Patriots or to Baton Rouge, and, of course, they'll be the visiting team in the state championship. Here's an odd deal here. Let's say the Patriots win tomorrow, and let's say Rummel wins against St. Paul's, right? On the other side of the bracket, you have Holy Cross is playing Acadiana, and Carr is playing Alexander Senior High School. If Holy Cross and Carr win, there's a possibility that all 4 teams in the semifinals will be from the Catholic League.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I also thought you were going to say that we are the home squad. We can't play at the Shrine, but we're probably going to end up playing at EJ, which is Rummel's usually home field. So it's kind of a crazy deal that might end up happening. But we hope it does happen because that means Rummel won, we won, and we can get a little bit of payback from what happened a couple months ago.
Which leads into what I was about to say is that here's my wish in reverse order. We lost to Holy Cross, and then the following week we lost to Rummel. I want Rummel to beat St. Paul so we can take care of them in the semifinals, and I want Holy Cross on the other side to make it through, and we get Holy Cross in the state championship so we just beat them in reverse order to beat the 2 teams that beat us in the regular season.
That's a deal. Let's make it happen tomorrow night. Let's get them. Let's root for those guys on the other side, and that's exactly what we want. And, and a lot of people, around the metro area, they always think that but I know that we're always their big game, right? But in closed doors, we root for them too.
Sure.
We just don't root for them against us.
That's right.
But we definitely want to match up with them again. We love playing local schools, and it shows what kind of power the Catholic League brings around the state when you talk about Carr and Rummel and Jesuit and Brother Martin and Curtis and teams like that. It's just it doesn't get much better, and that's almost what you want to have. And I'll say it this way. A lot of teams don't want to play us in the regular season. They just don't. Historically, you've seen it. They've dropped off. They don't want to play us. They don't answer the phone. We want to play the best.
Yeah.
If there's a team out there around the country that has all the money and they want to come down here and play us, come on, we'll take you. We'll play you next year. We'll play you the year after. It doesn't matter. We want to play the best. So to be able to get into the Catholic League and play some very good competition and then also to be able to see them in the playoffs, I think is awesome. And like you said before, if it could wind up the top 4 teams, that'd be pretty neat.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I think Max Prep going into the playoff, I don't really know how they did the metrics for this, but they went around the country saying what is the hardest playoff brackets around the country, and they did a top 10. And District 9 5A, which is known as the Catholic in New Orleans, was because we had a majority of teams in the bracket, but the Division I Select was one of the top 10, more like 8, 9, or 10. I forgot what exact ranking. Toughest playoff brackets of all the whole United States.
That's cool.
And the majority of it, like I said, we had I think like 6, 7 teams. Well, we got 6 teams. We had 5 teams in the playoffs, and unfortunately, a couple of them played. We played St. Aug's. We had to eliminate St. Aug last week, and we're down to 4 left.
Well, you're just talking football, right?
Yeah.
Just think about all the other sports as well.
Oh yeah. No, I'm talking about for this playoff bracket
Right.
though. The Division I Select was one of the top 10 according to Max Prep. So
That's cool.
Yeah. So that just shows you right there. I mean, think
Good
about
company to be in.
Yeah, I mean, look, Rummel, going to who thought they'd lasted this long?
Right.
Now they played St. Paul's in the Jamboree every year, so they're not going to be afraid going to Covington and playing those
Right.
guys.
Oh, not at all.
Not
at all.
And don't be surprised if Rummel wins that game.
Yep.
I believe so.
I won't be.
But I want them in the semis,
I want them to.
and then we get hold across in the
Let's
finals.
go. Match it up.
Cool. We got a few more minutes. You see the stands are starting to fill up a little bit. Some of the older guys and the players are sit here, and you'll see they'll kind of migrate to the other side. I think maybe in a few years, Danny, this whole gym might be packed.
Well, I certainly hope so. And here's the biggest thing. Like my young ones, right?
Yeah.
Just like Thanksgiving, it's a tradition, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a family tradition. Everybody, meets around the table, talks about original Thanksgiving, how all this originated. But this is just a different Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving Day for us. And I think that we need to, in a way, hand this down for the generations.
Sure.
I woke my boys up and I said, y'all need to come with me. This is important to me. And one day I want them to say, this is important to me.
Yeah.
And then hand that down to their boys or girls or whoever, everybody
Right.
in the family to be able to say, because a couple of years ago my sister called me and she said, we're running in a race on Thanksgiving morning. You in? I said, well, first of all, my fat butt's not running any race. Second of all, no, I'm not missing Thanksgiving practice because I want to be there.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this tradition is passed down. And like we said before, you don't have this tradition if you're losers.
Right.
And I don't mean that in a joking sense. But if you're knocked out, you're not playing, there is no Thanksgiving tradition. So
Right.
it started from a class of winners.
Yeah.
And that's the way that we've just continued to keep it going, is that
Right.
these guys have committed to continue to win.
Like I said, it started in 75, excuse me. And I had no idea. In 85 and in 86, 87, I kind of, okay, cool. And when I started coming back, and I was in college, junior in college, and we lose, in 92, and we didn't have it. And I was like, wow, for 7 straight years, I was going to think I was lost. And then we go on a huge run, because this is our 31st consecutive quarterfinal games. However, since the split in recent years, sometimes the semifinals was this week.
Right.
Within 2 years ago, if you remember, we lose to Jesuit in the quarterfinals, but it was the week before Thanksgiving. So 2 years ago, we didn't even have this practice.
Right.
And that was the second time since 75. And that was the second time in like 30 years I woke up on Thanksgiving morning like, I should be at school for practice. And we weren't.
Now, I don't know if you guys caught that. The second time
Yeah.
since 1975, we didn't have it.
Yeah.
That in itself is an unbelievable
Yeah.
statistic
Yeah.
to know that we've made it this far. Now, obviously, you said it jumps from the semis to the quarters and
Yeah.
sometimes, but that's just pretty damn cool
I
to
know.
say, you know what, it's been that long. Just like the district championship of old. Remember when we went on
Right.
that long run
Yeah,
of
from 77 to 01.
yeah, without a loss, and it's pretty cool, man. We've stacked up a lot of traditions as time has gone on, and obviously JT this year with 623 wins, and I always say and counting,
Yeah.
is going to continue to rack them up, and it's just some awesome traditions that we have here, and today just adds to it.
I know you got a chance to kind of walk around the parking lot. Who are some of the Patriots you saw? Maybe any teammates of yours? showed up?
Yeah, plenty of guys. Had Chris Stropolo, Alex Batard, a bunch. The thing that I like about it is, and I'll get back to some of my guys. The thing I like about it is, I see some new blood.
Yes.
And that's what I like. So, like Rudy Gerardo, Glenn Sins, guys that kids are there now, and they're not even playing in high school.
Right.
But they're coming from other schools, and they say, I kind of want to experience this too.
Right.
What is this all about? I want to kind of have my son involved in this, and I want to experience these new traditions. So I'm sure a lot of the guys showed up after we came in here, But it's nice to see the guys from, like you said, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, but also the guys that never came to school here.
Right.
And they said, you know what?
I want to check it out.
I want to check it out, and I want to experience this. And you know what? I kind of like it. I dig it. This is a cool deal. I want my kids to be a part of it.
Yeah. I saw my quarterback, Billy Duncan, made the trip from the North Shore. Norman Drake, Jeff Arsamont, I know, was here. Brian Klesse. A few guys who are my teammates. Of course, Brian Strapolo is always a staple here, as his brother, Chris Strapolo. In the 70s, it's getting bigger and better every year.
Right.
I would think the largest, we might have had 60 alums, which is outstanding.
I think recently they've allowed the women to introduce themselves as well. So you got to remember,
it started as a football tradition. Now it's just a Patriot tradition.
And what I was going to say is you got to love the family legacy.
Yes.
That's come around. I'm just thinking of the Strapolos, the Gilmores, all those names that the families, the legacy has kind of continued, and it's become, it's trickled into the girls' sports, and not only trickled into there, but the girls' sports have become dominant.
Right.
In the 2000s, and I just think it's an awesome tradition to not only just be guys football, it's just turned into a family tradition.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it as well. But yeah, you talk about some of the names, and then you see the guys trickle in and be able to be part of it. But yeah, this thing will be filled up. Everybody ready to rock and roll before they go home and get some of that turkey.
Well, we still got a few more minutes.
But what are you cooking?
I'm not cooking either. I'm going to the in-laws' house.
Oh, this guy. Smart.
I'm not the in-laws cook.
There you go. I didn't have to cook much either. I just had to do some other green beans. And then we had one of Juan's world-famous Bubblicious briskets that we brought that we're going to bring to home. But we're going to my mom and dad's house, Barbara and Ronnie Wimprine, and they always have a Thanksgiving tradition of being there with the family, and then we leave and go to Ashley's sister's house in Houma. Brandy, I think Brandy was a class of 97. So I think 97, around 97. So yeah, we go over there to Houma, and it's always a nice day.
Well, we got a few minutes. Can you go back down memory lane? Think of any Thanksgiving week stories, games, or one thing, practice?
Well, look, I'll be honest with you guys, and I know I've said this before. I've got hit in the head too many times. I cannot remember things like Kevin does. This guy's got an encyclopedia brain, and he remembers everything. But the one story that I do remember on a Thanksgiving practice that I think changed me for the better was Mr. Curtis was still around, right?
Yeah, right.
And we went into the library. We went to talk. And as we're talking, JT, I believe, had his dad stand up. And JT was preaching. And he talked about how one guy can make a difference, right? And everybody's seen the pyramid of reflection where somebody can do one thing and it affects so many different people. But he made his dad stand up, and he made people start to stand up about who knows Mr. Curtis, or whose life has been affected by Mr. Curtis. And then those people stood up. And then you would say, well, if you don't know Mr. Curtis, but you know these people, and your life has been affected by the person standing up. And before you know it, the entire library is standing up, and you start to understand that one person
exponentially
can make a difference. And I think that was pretty neat to say that, because so many times in our lives, when we're going through a struggle, or we're going through a heartache, or we're going through something, somebody can pick you up in a very positive manner, of course. And doing that spiritually is one of the best ways to do it. But you always have those people in your life when you look back, whether you're 40, 50, 60, 70, you say that, that guy, I never forget what he taught me and how he made me feel.
Right.
Or that woman,
right.
Or somebody who was an example. So I think that was one of the things that I took away from, you can always be that person, right? To make the change, to be positive, to make a difference. And I thought that was pretty neat when he just gave us that example about how one guy who had a dream and had a belief in Jesus Christ now has trickled to change thousands upon thousands into millions of people.
Right.
And I think that's pretty damn positive when you look at it.
No, absolutely.
What about you?
Yeah, football, like I said, my freshman year in '85, I had no clue. Things were in practice. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Probably not something you wanted to do at that time.
I'm thinking it's a walkthrough and get here to practice. And I'm not playing because '85, we were loaded. Right. So I'm on the clap squad, And I told Michael Stonebraker, he's a senior that year. So we actually stretched in the gym, which was the girls' gym. Now it's called the boys' gym, the back gym. And I've done this stretch for years, running track. You pair up with a partner, and you hold their leg, and they go down on the leg you're holding, and then coach will say down, and then they get up and go down the leg they're standing on. And I don't know, this is one be done kind of in a fog wherever, and I'm holding Stoney's leg and stuff. He's on the leg I'm holding. The coach guy's all right, up, down, and he's supposed to go down on the leg he's standing on, and I dropped him. I'm thinking like down like we're switching, just totally forgot, and he lands on and does a split, and I'm thinking, oh my God, he's a high school American linebacker. I tore his groin up, I'm gonna get killed. And of course, he gets up, what do you know? I'm like, yes, sir. No, but I didn't know what to say.
Yes, sir.
I'm 135 pounds. He's a 225-pound linebacker, and goes to All-American in Notre Dame and wins the national championship there. I'm like, oh, I killed him. So that was my first one. And then, my sophomore year, we were going to play E.D. White in the quarters. And Glenn Tapman was actually he was on our 75 team and started this tradition. He's the tennis coach at Nichols. And he made arrangements to where we went down to Nichols and got dressed and taped up there because E.D. White literally is 2 blocks away from Nichols State.
Okay.
And so we got dressed there, got on the bus, showed up, and it was a monsoon. And then my junior year, we played Northside at East Jefferson. It was a muggy night. I remember in my senior year, I was a captain. We had played a meet in the state championship game in '87. Had to go back to a meet in the quarters my senior year, and to be a captain. And it was a very spirited game. The state game was. So there was a lot of officials to make sure there's no fights.
Right.
Well, Jeff Conscien was a teammate of mine, offensive tackle. He's like 6'4", 270. Antonio Varnado was 6'3", 265, defensive lineman. Well, Mike Romano was a 195-pound free safety, and I'm a 185-pound receiver. And coach gives the instructions. We win a flip. We want this and that. But only 2 guys could walk to the field. The other 2 guys had to stay behind at the hash marks. Mm-hmm. So I see the 2 big guys. I said, y'all get behind us. Send the little guy. Us little guys go up front. And I told Mike, strap it up. We strapped it up, mouthpieces in. We walked there, and we were like looking eye to eye to these guys, not even really listening to what the referee's saying because they were trying to act all big and bad with their do-rags and stuff, looking at us. We're just staring them down the whole time. But the 2 big guys are behind us.
Love it.
And we went there and whooped them.
That's it.
Yeah, had a great time. So.
See, like I told you, I don't remember any of that stuff. I don't know who we played on Thanksgiving days. I don't care. The one thing that I do remember is all 4 of my years we won.
Hey.
So we obviously won on Thanksgiving week, which is very, very important.
That's true.
But yeah, it's an awesome tradition. We love being here. This is part of it. As you see, Ms. Rickner and Coach JT behind us, part of the reasons why we're doing this today. So it's an awesome opportunity. They're starting to file into the gym. And like I said before, the biggest thing is we're here again, baby. This is what it's all about.
A few more things before we sign off. Danny and I will skedaddle, get out the way, but Robbie's going to keep filming so you guys get to see the whole devotional and really get to understand what not just Curtis football and what being a Patriot or student at John Curtis Christian School is all about. But before we do that, again, the John Curtis Christian Patriots take on the Catholic High Bears tomorrow in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 7 o'clock kickoff. 6:45, we'll sign on via YouTube on johncurtispatriots.com. Danny and I will have the pregame for you, and then the boys will hopefully be victorious. And we'll be heading back home and playing the semifinals, 1 game away from the state championship. So we're going to go ahead and sign off. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Happy Thanksgiving, my brother. Love
Happy
you.
Thanksgiving to all you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow night at 6:45 for the 7 o'clock kickoff.
Happy
Go Big Blue.
Thanksgiving. God bless.
Tommy, check and see if everybody's in. First of all, let me just thank all of you all for being here. It is so neat to see so many guys that participated in this through the years. Billy Duncan and I were talking a minute ago. We moved from the locker room to the library, and now we are having a hard time getting them all in our gym. And we're really thankful for that. Thankful that you're here. Thankful to be playing. That's always a special treat, special time. And again, it's so good to see you have the fellowship and to recognize that we're all bound together by our commitment to the school and our commitment to the Lord. And I know that Mr. Curtis and my mom would be so proud to see all of you all. I know they look down and they're smiling. because this is exactly what he wanted when he began the school, that it would grow into an extended family and into a large family, and that's exactly what it's done. And we want you to know that we are always here to serve you, and that our responsibility as Christians is to be a servant, not to be served. And so please never hesitate to reach out to us at any time. We want to introduce all of the alumni that are here, and I'm going to start in the far corner, and then we'll just work our way right around the gym and finish up on this side. If you graduated from school, from high school here, I'd like you to stand up and tell us your name and the year you graduated. That was 72, by the way.
71 and almost 71.
Class of 71, by the way.
Steve Curtis, 2000. Paul Macri, 01. Mike Snyder, 03.
75.
Tommy Archer, 1976.
Chris Luckett, 76.
Glenn Tappan, 76.
Doug Hoffman, 79. Paul Nelson, 98.
Plessy, 23.
Brian Plessy, 91. Eric Davis, 97.
Daniel Morrell, 92.
Andrew Montajon, class of 23.
Go, jury.
95. Kevin Dukes, 95.
PJ Smith, 08. Tom DeFalco, 87.
Greg Barron, 93.
Jason Howell, Brian, 23.
Anna Curtis, 22.
Say why. Anyway, we are glad you're here. Most of you all know this started in our locker room in 70. Keep our eyes focused on the spiritual aspects of life. I've told this story before. I don't know if I've said it here or not, but when I was a freshman in college, we were playing the University of Texas in Fayetteville. And it was a game that was going to probably decide the national championship. And it was a lot of excitement. And I remember being with some friends. We were driving through the city, and on the board in front of the First Baptist Church of Fayetteville was a saying that I never forgot. And it's amazing how you see things or you hear things and they make an impression on you. But what it said was, spiritual things are eternal. Physical things are temporal. Nevertheless, beat Texas. And that kind of tells us where we are in life. Sometimes we get caught up in all the physical things of life, and we find ourselves not thinking about, concentrating, focusing on the eternal things, the spiritual things. So I want to share with you a few words today directly out of God's Word. And, there's nothing better than His teaching, nothing better than His words, because they are so meaningful to you and to me, and can supply the needs of our heart as we go through life. But let me read to you a couple of passages and then just a couple of quick comments. Out of the book of Psalms, the 95th Psalm, the psalmist writes these words: "Oh, come let us sing of joy to the Lord." And I think sometimes we don't do that enough. We don't sing about the joy that we have in our relationship with God through Christ. Come and let us sing with joy. Let us shout joyfully to the rock of our salvation. Let us come before His presence with thanksgiving in our heart. And so as we think about today and Thanksgiving, I think we need to recognize the importance of coming before the Lord, being thankful for what we have been blessed with. It's so easy to take those things for granted. It's so easy to just have them pass us by and assume that it'll always be this way, or that other people are blessed the way we are. And the fact of the matter is, they are not. And we need to come before his presence with thanksgiving. Let us shout joyfully with him with our psalms. For the Lord our God is great, and a great king above all others, whose hands develop the depths of the earth, the peaks of the mountains, and the earth that we live in today. I just think it's important that we recognize who we deal with. This is God, the creator of it all. And he wants to have a relationship with you and me on an individual basis. When you think of that concept, it's almost impossible to comprehend. You think about the greatest person that you might want to meet or know, the President of the United States or a past president who you would never have the opportunity to have any kind of relationship with because of his status. And yet, the one that created it all says, I really want to have a relationship with you. And it's our responsibility to develop that relationship. It's our responsibility to grow in wisdom and in stature, and certainly grow in favor with God. And then by doing so, we grow in favor with our fellow man. I want to read to you in conclusion a passage of scripture from the 3rd chapter of the book of Proverbs. Proverbs was written by Solomon, they believe, but a lot of the writings were things that he had picked up from other people, other prophets of his day. But the book is full of beautiful, beautiful sayings and beautiful content. And I want to read this out of the 3rd chapter of the book of Proverbs to us because it applies to us in our life every day. It begins, my son, do not forget my teachings, but let your heart keep my commandments. God teaches us every day. He won't force his way on us. He'll open himself up and say, I want to teach you every day. I want to teach you my commandments. These commandments will guarantee a productive, fruitful life. I want to teach you my way of thinking. But let your heart keep all of my commandments, for the length of days will be added to the years of your life, and peace will be added to you. Do not let kindness, do not let truth ever leave you. Bind them around your neck, write them on the tablets of your heart. You know, if we were able to just understand and grow in that concept that if we wrote on the tablets of our heart the kindness and the love that God showed to us that we could share with others, what a different world we would live in today. What a different attitude that you might have as you go about your daily task. That our love and our kindness always is an example to the world. Write those important issues on the inside of your being, so you will find favor and have good report in the sight of God and in the sight of man. And then he gives us these words that I want to close with and share with you. In this fifth verse, he says, trust in the Lord with all of your heart. And this is the hard one now. Do not lean to your own understanding. Sometimes God puts us in positions and places that we question and wonder, what's going on? What's happening? And he says, trust in me. Don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge me, and he will make your path straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes, but fear the Lord and turn away from evil. And it'll be a healing and a blessing to your body, and it'll be a refreshment to your soul. As we go through this Thanksgiving season, let's refresh ourselves Let's refresh ourselves by dwelling on the commandments that God has given us. Not just the 10 that he gave us originally, but those 10 would certainly dictate our life in a totally and a completely different way. But Jesus was asked by a Pharisee, what is the greatest commandment that you have to give to us today? What is the one commandment out of the 10 that we know that you think is the most important? And I think there was some cynicism there to try to trick Jesus into thinking, well, if he says, I shall not kill, I could say, well, what about covetousness? Or what about murder? Or what about honoring your father and mother? Jesus looked at that Pharisee and that scribe and said, love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your mind. And before the Pharisee could say anything back to him, he said, but remember this, there's one other statement that encompasses all of them. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. The two greatest commandments that we have. Love God. Treat people with kindness and dignity and love. Let's go forth. Let's come out of this group that example to the world. Let's pray. Father, we thank you so much for these people that have gathered themselves together in fellowship and friendship. We thank you for the camaraderie that binds us all together, that we have always tried to live a life that is an example that is pleasing and honoring to you. Help us to go forth from this place today and to have a different attitude about where we are, who we are, and the influence we can have in the world. We ask you to be with those that are in time of need. We ask you to be with those that are going through difficulty. Comfort their spirit. Send your spirit to minister to them. Heal their bodies and heal their mind. And again, we say thank you for this season. May we honor, may we please you by the manner of our living, for we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.